Alright guys, Gemini, back with another video. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. And in this video today, I want to talk about a little interesting quote from WWE superstar Sheamus, who I don't really know where Sheamus is coming from on this one. And I've been a Sheamus fan for a while. I liked Sheamus way back in like 2009, you know, when he beat Cena in the tables match for the WWE Championship. I mean, I was a big Sheamus fan. I pushed hard for this guy. Presently, not so much a big fan. It's kind of like, been there, done that, seen that. So I'm not the biggest Sheamus fan in the world like right now, but I was a huge Sheamus backer. I mean, I had his, you know, his little doll that you beat up, you know, the little beat 'em up doll. And I was a big Sheamus fan, and I was behind him. I thought he was pretty damn cool. I believed in him. I don't know what that has to do with the video, but so Sheamus went on record and he made the following quote on why the WWE is better than it's ever been. And this is what Sheamus said, and I quote: "The level of athleticism has evolved so much since we watched as kids. The athletes that WWE has now are far superior to anything that we had in the 80s or 1990s. You look back at the Attitude Era and the level of entertainment we put in the ring now. The Attitude Era doesn't even come close. I'm not afraid to say that either. You watch some of the stuff that Cesaro does in the ring with his size, the way he moves around the ring, the moves he hits, the way he picks up guys twice his size. It's just a different level." I get Sheamus standing up for what he does. I get him standing up for Cesaro. I can agree on the athleticism of today being better than the 80s and 90s, but at the same time you have to remember in the 80s and 90s they didn't have the conditioning programs that they have today. They didn't have the technology. They didn't have the computers to keep these guys in tip-top shape. You know, and the guys weren't as big and strong in the 80s and 90s as they are today, and they're not nearly as athletic. But for him to kind of go on record and say that what they're doing better now is better than the 80s and 90s in wrestling, I'm going to disagree with him on that point. For me, I found the product personally more entertaining in the Attitude Era, entertaining in the golden era of the 80s, much more entertaining than I find the product of today. I found the promos that they cut were better. I found that the characters that the guys developed were much more entertaining. I felt like the shows made a lot more sense. I felt like the shows back in the 80s and 90s were much more compelling, much more must-see than the product of today. For instance, like the Attitude Era, McMahon and Austin was so captivating that it was really you can't miss. And I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like now you can miss Monday Night Raw and watch the clips on YouTube, whatever cool happened, and be good with it. And that's kind of like where I'm at with it all. You know, if something cool happens on Raw, I don't feel like I necessarily need to see it like live on Raw. I feel like I can just go catch the clip on Instagram or YouTube from whatever was cool that happened. And I remember in the 80s and 90s, especially in the 80s, maybe not so much the 90s, because the 90s was more of an entertainment aspect, but at least in the 80s, you wanted to see it all. You know, you wanted to record it all, and you really were emotionally invested in the wrestlers, and they really captivated your imagination. I mean, if you're going to compare the stars of the 80s in comparison with the roster now, I mean, listen to this. I mean, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Sergeant Slaughter, Macho Man, Jake the Snake, Undertaker, Bret the Hitman Hart. You know, I mean, the list goes on and on. I feel like those guys are a lot more memorable than a lot of the wrestlers today. I feel like back in the day, say you would have taken a Ultimate Warrior off the show, or you would have taken a Macho Man off the show, I think a lot of people would have really cared and been like, where's Macho Man? I think if you took Sheamus and Cesaro off the show tomorrow, I think people would be like, oh, okay, and then they'd be over in like one day. I don't know if I agree with Sheamus, except for the athleticism part. but the guys are also a lot lighter than they were back in the day. The guys used to be all heavy, muscular guys, and they're all slimmer now. So obviously they're going to move faster. I don't really know what Sheamus was thinking on this one. I do agree with the athleticism. I don't think he was trying to upset anyone. I think he was trying to go to bat for what he believed in. But, man, for me, the stuff that you're seeing today with the smaller, faster, lighter guys doing all the flips and stuff, I just don't necessarily think it stands up to the 80s and 90s when, for me, wrestling was in its pinnacle. And people are going to say, oh, the 90s sucked. 90s wrestling in WWF, yeah, it was hot in the early, like, first 2-3 years. Then it cooled off, tampered off till about 97, 98. But, man, you can't really crack whip on the Attitude Era. You can't really say anything bad about the Attitude Era because that was the funnest time for the wrestling fans. We got treated the best in the Attitude Era. In fact, I was watching the clip on YouTube with Stephanie McMahon when she was marrying The Undertaker on the cross and Stone Cold came out. It was just, man, I almost had tears in my eyes on that. It was just like, holy shit. And it was just, I don't think they do anything now to really, like, bring that emotion. It kind of looks like they, in a lot of ways, are just going through the motions. Like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And with Sheamus and Cesaro as a tag team, I don't really feel them. I don't really consider them like this big memorable tag team. I mean, when I think of tag teams, I think of Demolition, Legion of Doom, Rockers, Brain Busters, Four Horsemen. I think of teams like that. And Sheamus and Cesaro versus those guys, in my opinion, no. It just doesn't add up. Make sure you guys leave your comments below and let me know what you think about Sheamus' quote. Thank you so much.